In terms of my life updates, I've actually been pretty busy for the most part. And a lot of it's been really just kind of wanting spring to kind of come back, or just warmer weather, consistent weather. And like I said a second ago, how that's going to be, nice out for at least a couple days stretch for next week. We're looking forward to that. And now that we're obviously heading into daylight savings and everything, it just makes me a little bit more excited. The fact that spring's around the corner, we're going to slowly start getting warmer weather again. We're going to be done with winter because I'm done with snow. I'm done with the crappy weather. I'm done with the cold weather. I just want some nice, consistent kind of warm weather, and that's what we're getting. But the other thing that I've kind of been doing a lot lately has been hitting up Westchester. Most of February, for the most part, I've been going out to Westchester. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any real videos or anything out of it. Eventually, I will start doing some vlogs around Westchester town, the town of Westchester, and it's just that I just wasn't able to get to it very much in terms of doing anything for the channel and anything. But the reason why I was out to Westchester so much was earlier in the month, right around Valentine's Day sort of thing, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year and everything. And because of that, as in my family, kind of went to my brother and his wife who live in Westchester, and she's obviously Chinese and everything. So they were celebrating Chinese New Year, and a lot of it is pretty much kind of celebrating it similar to that of how we usually celebrate for Christmas or anything, is kind of celebrating around with family and everything. So they were both gracious enough to host us, and she made a ton of food, a lot more food than we were that our stomachs could really take and everything. But it was very nice. She loves to kind of host and everything, so that was a very fun time out there. It was a fun thing there. My brother was making drinks for us. It's just me and my parents there that were there. Unfortunately, my other siblings weren't able to make it that weekend, so small little group of us, but still nonetheless fun. A lot of good food. She is a very good cook, and she does love to host and everything, so very much I do look forward to those times when we do get to experience some of her culture, some of her what she likes to do, like to cook and everything. And she's so gracious that she pretty much cooks something for everybody there. I'm not obviously the most aggressive, or I'm pretty plain Jane for the most part with my food kind of intake. Not too picky, but I'm picky-ish. But she's very good. One of the things she made was hot dogs wrapped in chips and everything. One was, I think, regular just potato chips. The other one was barbecue chips, and it was just little like finger hot dogs kind of thing with that peppered on top. That was delicious. The other thing she made was pancake burgers, essentially, which was just like a ground beef with some seasoning on top, and then all pretty much in like a little bun kind of thing. It wasn't really like any kind of bun on that front, or in terms of like a bao bun or anything like that. It was just kind of like a little pocket sort of thing, but just with burger in it. It was very good. She was calling it a pancake burger, which was delicious. She was a little annoyed with it just because it didn't close all the way, it kind of broke. But it still was good nonetheless. Props to her for being able to cook all that food for us. But that was that weekend. Then the following weekend, one of the places we always hit, and I feel like I talk about it in every podcast now, whenever we go to Westchester lately, one of the things we always hit up is Bierhaul. And if you haven't been, I would highly suggest it if you're looking for a good place to eat in Westchester, just because it's a very good place. I've never had a bad kind of meal there. They have good drinks and kind of good atmosphere for the most part, depending on when you go. But it's definitely a great kind of place if you want to try to find something good. A few times whenever we go out there to actually go out to eat or anything or get drinks and it's always kind of Bierhaul is the place. It's because one thing is, it's normally when I'm doing that's when I'm with family, and that's the other reason why I didn't record anything during those times, just because it's kind of spending time with family. I didn't feel right to just put a camera out and just kind of film what we're doing and everything. But whenever we do, it's usually Bierhaul that we hit. It's kind of been our go-to lately, and again, it's because it's always so good whenever we go. Almost anything you get there is going to be delicious, drink or food-wise. But that weekend we hit up Bierhaul, and it was the same group, my parents and then my brother and his wife. And then we also met up with my one aunt and uncle, who just kind of, we were all just kind of came back to the town, just kind of catching up and everything, talked about and just kind of hung out at Bierhaul for a while. Then we went back to their place, kind of talked to you a little bit more. It's definitely a fun, like, chill night. Nothing too extravagant. It's just pretty much been hanging out and doing that kind of stuff. But not only that, the last thing we did was this past week in Westchester. I'm recording this on March 5th, but last week was Restaurant Week down in Westchester, and we kind of partaked in this. Not only that, just because also my brother's wife is heading back to China for about like a month or a couple weeks or whatever. So it was an excuse to kind of see her for one last time before she has to go back out, or before she's leaving to go to China, and also because we wanted to kind of experience a restaurant during Restaurant Week. And for those who may not know, Restaurant Week, it's just something a lot of the restaurants and even some of the bars in Westchester kind of partake in, where they have like a specialty kind of menu item, whatever it is, might be. For the place we ended up going to, it was an Italian place, and it was it was good. The only issue I had with it was the service was a little slow there. It felt like the waitress we had was new-ish or whatever, just because, and maybe they were a bit short-staffed because it felt like she was running kind of all over the place. And the way the restaurant is, it was 2 floors, and she was working on our floor, which was like the second floor, and then there was a lower floor which had a bunch more tables, and for some reason she was working both of those. So for a lot of it, it just ended up being us just kind of not being able to do too much, or she wasn't able to get to us that much. And the other thing that felt strange is it was a Saturday night when we went out, but for some reason there was only one bartender, and because of that our drinks kind of took a little bit longer to get out, which I could completely understand when you only have one bartender and you pretty much have a restaurant full of people trying to take all those orders. So we were obviously patient enough. That was the only little critique. The food itself was good, and the way they handled Restaurant Week in particular was they had a separate like 4-course meal they were doing kind of thing. I believe the first course was just like any drinks or whatever, but the second course was like appetizer kind of thing. So if you wanted a salad, or what I went with, which was just their homemade meatballs, they had like a selection that you can choose for each little item, obviously. And I went with that one for that. And then they had obviously the main course, which I just went with the chicken parm. Again, I mentioned it a little earlier. I am pretty plain Jane, but that was something that was actually pretty good. I've had better. It wasn't too bad. If I had to give it out of 10, it's probably about like a 6, maybe 6.5. And then they closed it off. It was just a vanilla gelato. It's just the dessert for it. So it was definitely cool. It was definitely cool to see how they were kind of taking part in Restaurant Week and everything, and kind of taking part in that. So that's pretty much it in terms of life updates. It's been